Hello again and good evening. My name is Mohammed Hafiz and welcome to part 2 of my personal project. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to install all the components that we showed in part 1 into the case. Now when you want to install your parts into a case, make sure first you tilt your case, because in this way it's easier for you to install stuff, especially the motherboard. But then when installing the motherboard, you have this golden pin here and here, and you have this holes provided. Make sure your motherboard holes, which are here, you can see here, these holes here, make sure all of them fits right on top of all those pins. If it doesn't, you can just take it out and put it in any of the hole to fit your motherboard. So before you buy a motherboard, make sure, I suggest you to buy the case first, because so you can actually measure how big your motherboard has to be when you have to put it into the case. It's okay if you want to take a paper and just put it on and just jot the points, so you can, when you buy the motherboard, you see how big it is. And the second stuff, when you want to before you install the motherboard into the PC, the first thing is install all of the CPU, the heatsink, and the RAM. First, before that, you can always just put the I/O shield into first. Now this is basically the most simplest part of them all. Just put it there accordingly. You just push it in. And there you go. See, I told you it was easy. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now we're gonna install the motherboard. Now when you open this, you kind of have to force this open, and it will open like this. Now you'll see this when you buy a brand new motherboard. This is just to protect this the CPU socket. Now for the actual CPU, it's right here. Make sure when you take it out, you hold it on the corner of the CPU, and you can see the gold arrow there. Make sure you aligned it with the golden arrow on the socket. Now when you put the processor in, do not apply any kind of force, just put it in, just drop like that. And when you close it, make sure don't worry about like breaking it or anything. You have to apply quite a force to closing it, to install it. And now it is installed. Ta-da! Now installing the RAM. Again, make sure you hold the RAM on the corner. Do not touch the pins. Make sure you open these, and basically you just align them with the line. Just put them in there carefully. Just push down both sides, and that's it. Done. You just install your RAM. Now the next thing is the heatsink. Now the heatsink goes on top of the CPU. Just gonna take it out here. See these pins, this 4 pins right here, it actually goes on these 4 holes. So you just put them on top of them. Just pick up the board a little bit up and just push them in. And there we have it. We have installed the heatsink on the motherboard. Now I know, like, you think like next thing you have to install is the graphics card, but actually you're going to install the graphics card at the end of the build. But for now, now just take your hard drives and your optical drive. These are actually the things you installed first. Now when you want to install it, of course, just tilt it back up, but when you want to install the motherboard, make sure you tilt it back down. Now, basically this is an easy procedure. Just put it into any of the slot, and basically just screw them in. Now, when you're installing the hard drive, make sure you screw them tightly in so they won't move. See, unmovable. Next thing is the hard drive, is the optical drive. Sorry, the optical drive. Now the optical drive goes up here, and basically you just have to do as the same as the hard drive. So when you have installed the optical drive into the slot, just make sure you screw them tight so they won't move, same as the hard drive. Now if you see here closely, you have two holes for the screw. I just use one because here you can see I have limited amount of screws because this is actually a reuse case. All the screws are from the old parts before that I took out. Then I'm just going to move all the screws out. And by the way, I use this screw. Okay. Oh, and another thing, a tip, make sure you keep all the screws in one place. Trust me. Okay, so now we're gonna tilt the case, and you already guessed it, we're gonna install our motherboard. As I said before, make sure the holes on the motherboard are aligned with the gold pins on the hinge. And just get that straight. Here, all aligned. Now all you have to do is screw them in. Now I'm just screwing in the last screw of the motherboard. When screwing the motherboard, make sure you screw it tight, but make sure it's not too tight. So you can see here, there's 4 pin right here. That's where this little wire right here is gonna go. So make sure you just plug it in the right way. There we go. Make sure that you just manage your cable. Make sure it doesn't interrupt the fan. I'm gonna put stop line here. Okay, so that's done. I just have to tilt it back up. Now, next thing we're gonna put the power supply. Now the power supply, you put it at the back here. Some computers have it at the bottom, but mine has it on the top. Maybe when you buy your case you have it at the bottom. Don't worry, you can still put it there. It's still the same thing. It's still gonna work. You just put this motherboard up here and this power supply up here. Make sure you aligned it. Second. There you go. Make sure you aligned it with the screws, the 4 holes on the motherboard, on the power supply. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 of them. Make sure you just screw them in with the screw provided. Yeah, I got it. Now here I'm just screwing the last one. There we go. It's tight. Doesn't move. See, all of them is 4 connected. Now we have the power supply. Now here again you will tilt your case. There you go. And now you're going to plug this cable right here. It's 20 by 20 plus 4 pin. Just connect that with that. This others. Basically, just plug them in, but make sure you don't use like too much force on it. Just there you go, and there you go. That's it. So next, just bend this cable. Next, we're gonna plug these wires in, and here we have this. Stay there. Now here is a SATA wire and IDE Molex wire. Now these we're gonna connect them on top into their optical drive. You can do this tilt or not, but tilt is much more easier for me. There you go. And here you can see we have the mode packs, but you can see here the hard drive. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna tilt it back up. It's much easier for you guys to see. You can see here. You can see this is a SATA interface and this is an IDE Molex connector. So if you have that problem, just no worries. Just go to the shop and get yourself one of these. Now this is a SATA adapter. Basically, you connect your IDE Molex wire into here and connect this other part into the hard drive. Just straighten it out. Just take the Molex wire, connect it properly, the proper. Okay, there you go, and connect it into hard drive, and that's it. There you go. Done. And this, while you're here, probably you wanna try to hide it somewhere. You wanna put it to the back. So you can see I moved the extra wire here to the. Now you're just gonna plug this wire here on the motherboard. You can see here. Now this is actually for the fan on the power supply. You're gonna plug that in. There you go. So how's that? Now, last thing, well, not actually the last thing, is the power of the GPU. Now, as I said before, we're gonna plug this at the last because when I see that, I mean it's like the easiest of all. So, just gonna land it here. Just Yeah, easy. I'm just gonna take one screw and just tie it here. Make sure it doesn't move. You can see here I'm just finishing. I'm going to just finish the screw. Screwing this. And there you go. So we're nearly done. Now we're gonna plug in these cable into the hard drive and the optical drive. Now this wire is a SATA wire. This, if you remember in our first video, I said this will transfer the data from the optical drive or the hard drive to the motherboard to process the data. So now we have here down there, here, see closer. That's where we're going to plug it in. We're going to plug one part to the optical drive, one part to the motherboard. First, I'm going to plug in the one to the motherboard. Okay. Now, I'm just going to plug this one into the optical drive. That's done. Let's take the other one. Bend it a little. So we're going to plug this one in, and this one here. Hold on. Go the way around. Okay, now that's done. Now we have here, let's come with the case, are the wires. You have like the wires here for the USB, which is, you can see here. See here the USB 2.0 down here. Yeah, that's these. They're gonna go on the bottom here. You can see them right there. You can see USB 1, USB 2, and there the white pins and all. That's where your power, all these powers, this reset, all HD, LED, that's where they're all gonna go to. Now for this part, make sure you look at your manual drive when you plug this in, and I'm going to plug them in now. Okay, so here, if you can see down here, I've already connected all those wires and little pins. Tell the truth, this was quite annoying. You can see it. There we go. Now, to basically, like, if you want to wire all of this, make sure you check your motherboard user manual, or you can just go to Google and just search how to do this. But especially for the USB. Now the USB, I tell you because it is the most hardest one, because it has nothing labeled on it. No, it doesn't have anything labeled on it, so you might want to really check that out. For me, I just like throw it down like this here. All that, you can see I wired it all. So the last step to this is just powering it up. So the last step of building a computer is testing it out. So now, as you can see, I don't actually have a monitor, but I'll use my TV, which I will use to connect it with is a HDMI wire. I will connect it to the graphics card on the back. Just do that. And next thing is just taking your power cable, this one, plug that end to the socket and just plug it into the power supply. And just to make sure, I have a mouse. No, sorry, mouse. I have a mouse here, just to check if it works. There. And plus I have an old school keyboard. Yes, the old school keyboard. Just gonna lead it up from here. So switch it on. So this is like the moment of truth to see if all this work was worth it. And see the fans rolling, the TV. It's all actually I already installed the operating system on this motherboard. So as you will see, I'm using Windows Ultimate. Just going to type my password in. Sorry, I forgot to. There we go. And there you go. Now this is just the operating system. I haven't installed like the things you need for the motherboard and the operating system to connect, to like talk to each other. That'll be in part 3 of the video. So this is the end of part 2 of my personal project, and thank you for watching.